What's going on, football fans? Hey, man, we are almost getting close to the regular season starting in 1 week on Sunday, 1 o'clock. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Boy, I'm so hyped right now. It's Toby D. Got my man JR over there on the other side. It's pound for pound ATL. What's going on, JR?
Man, just living it, just doing it. We were recording this on a Friday. We made it through another week. Like you said, we are 1 week closer. We got like meaningful football being played this weekend on in the college ranks. So like we here. It's our
Yeah.
time. And like couldn't be more stoked and more excited about it. I was driving back. Some of y'all may have saw it on Twitter. I was driving back from Tennessee, and I was in the middle of nowhere, and I just happened to look over. I was in between Nashville and Chattanooga, right in the middle of nothing, and I just happened to look over, and I was like, "Man, that's a cool looking tractor trailer. That's a cool looking design on the side of that tractor trailer." Then I got to looking at it even closer. I was like, "Wait a minute, that's the Oregon Ducks tractor trailer that was trucking their equipment across, to the stadium, for
Yeah.
their game this weekend." I was like, "Oh man, look at that!" I had to take a picture of it and tag our good buddy Chris Jameson, who's out there in Oregon, to let him know that I saw his boys in town.
Yeah, man, your boy Marcus Mariota's very excited. Honorary captain on tomorrow night.
Right,
Him and
right,
Lorenzo Carter going back and forth about
yeah.
who got the best team, and we kind of shut them up when we talked about our reign. But it is what it is.
Hey, I
We're
mean,
excited.
that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Look, for this year, for sure, the Georgia fans got all the right in the world to talk they talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't be more happy. I got a ton of Georgia friends, as far as like guys who really root for the University of Georgia. So yeah, couldn't be more happy for them for that. I mean, obviously I've enjoyed it because we're here in Georgia, so root for the home team. But yeah, it's good stuff. So as we alluded to on Tuesday when we were going live and talking about the 53 man roster that got announced, the initial 53 man roster, we said, like Arthur Smith quoted that, hey, today's 53 is going to look different from tomorrow's, which is going to look different than Friday's. Alluding to that just like last year, just because it's the initial 53, there's more strategy behind it than
Yeah.
what we see on paper. And so there was a ton of questioning moves on the Tuesday. The fact that Deion Jones was on the 53, the fact that Jalen Mayfield was on the 53,
Yeah.
the fact that Marlon Davidson was on the 53. These were all things that we had questioned. And yesterday they had a flurry of moves, which kind of cleared up some of it.
Yeah.
Them being, they put Isaiah Oliver, unfortunately, which we'll get into that here in a minute. They put Isaiah Oliver, Marlon Davidson, Jalen Mayfield, and Deion Jones on IR. And in corresponding moves, they re-signed Colby Gossett, um,
Mhm.
Abdul Anderson,
Abdullah Anderson. Yep.
Abdullah Anderson. They re-signed Nick Kwiatkowski,
Yep.
and then they re-signed, who else did they re-sign?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they brought Mike Ford back
Mike Ford and Dean Marlowe.
and Dean Marlowe. Yep.
So,
Yep.
and I still contend that this isn't going to be the opening day 53. Because one of the questions that I had when the initial 53 came out was the fact that they had cut both Anthony Firkser and Michael Pruitt,
Right.
which was a very like interesting and almost concerning move, because both of those guys, like, that left you with Kyle Pitts, Parker Hesse, and Felipe
Right.
Franks as your only tight ends on the roster.
Yep.
And I mean, that was concerning to me, especially, given how much we like to run 12 and 13 personnel, or at
Right.
least how much they ran it last year. So, but on Thursday, they signed Anthony Firkser and Michael Pruitt back to the practice squad, which again is an interesting move. I would imagine one, if not both of those guys, are on the 53 on opening day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it does. Yeah, it makes you scratch your head a little bit. I don't really understand the move. I mean, but I'm not Terry Fontenot and I'm not Arthur Smith, so I don't know what their train of thought is there, but I would imagine at least one of those guys back on that 53 and active on the 48 on Sunday at 1 o'clock next week.
I think so too, because the interesting thing, like, you got, as much as we all, like, fan favorite wise, as much as we all have enjoyed the conversion of Felipe Franks from QB to tight end or what have you, I really view him right now as a wasted roster spot. And what I mean by that is, anytime we've seen him at QB, if you want to give me OJR, he's the emergency QB guy. Okay. Anytime we've seen him at QB, the offense has completely stopped. So,
Yeah.
like, his promise that he has shown has been in the realm of a tight end. And there, as far as game film goes, as far as preseason goes, I think he only has one catch, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, I think one catch.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, him taking up a roster spot on what is arguably a project is like a concerning choice. Like, I don't know who's driving that bus. I don't know if it's Arthur Smith. I don't know if it's Terry Fontenot. I don't know. But like, I would imagine the 53 has got to be more of the coach's decision. And so, like, you're choosing a project tight end over, guys who are familiar with your system.
Right.
Like, I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. That doesn't sit well with me. That's a head scratching decision. On my end. I don't know how you feel about that aspect.
The one thing I was concerned about is Abdullah Anderson. That guy right there, I really like what he brings to the table. I mean, he just joined the Atlanta Falcons, already playing like he's hungry. And I couldn't understand why he was not signed to the 53-man roster initially in the first place. Now he is, because due to the transactions of the 5 guys put on injured reserve, which includes John Fitzpatrick, who was also the other tight end that was on the 53-man roster. We figured at least 3 guys out of the 5 was going to go on IR.
Right.
But I didn't imagine that they would allow Abdullah Anderson to just walk like that. But now, thank God he did clear the waivers or whatever. And maybe they felt that Felipe Franks, looking at it on the other end now, might not have passed through the waivers. I mean, and they probably had to put him on the 53, because now you can make easier transactions, removing him from the 53 and putting him on the practice squad. As opposed to doing it now.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Right, and maybe that's what it is. I just can't see, honestly, like with the people who are out there on waivers, like why would any other team be picking up Franks over, the New England Patriots let go of their like 3rd round from last year tight end, David Asai or something like that. Like, I can't envision a scenario where a team's like, yeah, got to have Franks over, somebody who's been playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like Franks. I like as a project, I like what he has shown, like his willingness to try to be versatile on special teams and on, trying to play QB and tight. I like all that stuff. All that stuff is admirable, but that's not 53-man worthy, in my opinion. That's practice squad worthy. And I feel like you said, I feel like before the start of the season, that's probably where he's going to end up anyway. But even if he doesn't, like, say he doesn't, right? Say they keep him on roster, but yet he's inactive every week. That's like, I don't know. Like, again, that's a questionable decision. Like, I know for the vast majority of the time, me and you tend to be on the more optimistic side of things, for the Birds, but we got to call it out when we see it, in a sense. And that one just don't make no sense to me. Like, why are you, like, we could have, to me, you could have went out and claimed, another wide receiver or a pass rusher or something like that versus keeping, Felipe Franks on the 53.
Yeah, and speaking of claiming, they did claim 2 players, right? Matt Dickerson, who spent some time with Dean Pease, so he knows Dean Pease's system pretty well.
Right.
I'm still digging into him. Haven't really seen how many snaps he got when he was with Dean Pease or whatnot. And the other guy, Chuma Odoga.
Oh, I'm glad you tried that because I wasn't gonna.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I'm gonna try it. I might have got it wrong. Y'all can cuss me out if I did, but I got as close as I think I could. Right and left tackle. Arthur Blank was offended when
Arthur Smith.
it was Arthur Smith. I mean, was suggested that he could be, competing for the right tackle.
Right.
spot.
Yeah. That was a. I picked that up because if I ain't mistaken, that was a Rappaport who initially tweeted it out when we claimed the gentleman from the Jets, the offensive lineman from the Jets, saying that he was going to come in and compete for the right side. And I was like,
Yeah.
no. I mean, not that I've been a big champion of McGary, but
Yeah.
like Ifedi couldn't displace McGary this year.
Right.
And so to think that this guy who they hadn't really even seen other than their joint practices with the Jets, like thinking that he's just going to come in and compete, I thought that was odd wording on Rappaport's part. But again, it's another strong instance of, these national guys, they have to pay attention to everything.
Right.
So sometimes you can't just, you miss the finer details. And so you can tell that Rappaport isn't honed in enough to know that the offensive line is pretty much set at this point. I even think that Hennessy's probably going to be your starter if I had to take a real hard swing at it. You got a thought process on that? Do you think that center spot's pretty much wrapped up?
I have no idea, man. I mean, like Arthur Smith was saying, he was probably had some seriousness in that, playing around with the Orlando Ledbetter's question about who's possibly going to be that starter. He said he has all the way up to 1 o'clock on Sunday, and that probably will be when you hear the decision after the practices next week because it's game planning time. So you see how both guys perform, and it could be a situation where it may go 2-3 weeks into the season because they'll get real football time snaps and coverages and all of that stuff and schemes that you couldn't really see because teams were holding a lot of that back in the preseason. They may be waiting to get to the season to see how these guys do when the real schemes come out and how they protect and, how they do in run blocking and stuff. So who knows, man?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That kind of bugs me that up to this point, you don't have a center named. You know what I'm saying? You've seen these guys. You've now seen them, against live fire as far as other teams go. You've seen them in two different joint practices. You've seen them now in 3 different games. I don't know how much else you need to see to determine who's going to be your starter, but I get it, as far as wanting to run it all the way up, not giving anybody a competitive advantage. I just think there's not a competitive advantage to be had, really.
I mean, both guys played in the regular season last year, and they even did a 2-center system last year. And, you saw a little frustration with Hennessy because he was being pulled up on the sideline while Drew Dahlman was coming in to play some snaps. So they may carry that out again to see how these guys do in real regular season action before they make that decision. Or they may decide next week after the practice is over. But like I said, you just don't really know, man.
No, you're right. You don't. And this is the part that, I can end up understanding why some people still have some reservations about, Smith and Fontenot to this point is because of, things like this, because of some of the more head scratching moves. You brought back, Caleb Huntley, but you let, Quadre Olison go, which is fine, whatever at this point. Yeah. But to me, you didn't see in-game action. You didn't see enough of Avery Williams. Honestly, or realistically to me, you didn't see enough of Damon Williams to consider either one of them a lock.
Yeah.
But yet you saw both Quadre and Huntley run extremely hard and run well.
Yeah.
And, you're choosing one of those guys for the practice squad, letting the other guy go while, you're leaving Avery Williams another position conversion just on the roster.
Yeah.
So these are
But
just
see,
interesting moves,
but see, once again, like I was saying on the live show, and it's just my guess, what we thought we saw, we didn't see because they didn't allow the personnel that's actually going to be out there, like Damon Williams and possibly Avery Williams, to really show us a lot because they're trying to hold as much advantage as they have. And I'm sure you saw that clip I put out with Cam Jordan. They don't really have much on the Falcons other than old stuff that they're going to have to go back and sift through to see if they can figure out what the Falcons offense is really going to be capable of doing on game day.
Yeah, no, they don't have. I mean, with the insertion of Mariota and Ritter, might as well just say Mariota.
Yeah.
Like there's an element that they haven't had to deal with ever with the Falcons that they're
Right.
going to have to deal with now. And you saw a little bit of that element against Detroit, but it's almost like you really felt like that Arthur Smith was like, look, man, y'all gotta tone that stuff down. We know you can run, and we're glad you can run. But we need to like kind of hold some of that stuff back.
Yeah.
But now, so let's move on into a little bit of a different direction. Do you think this is that quarter and a half against Jacksonville? Do you think that's the last time we see Deion Jones suited up for the Falcons?
I think the writing's on the wall basically there, man, JR. That was one of the shocking surprises to me. With them put him on IR after taking him off the PUP list.
Right.
And some tells me that Saturday he was very disgruntled. You can tell that he didn't like the fact that they were really like toying with him. And I can kind of understand the sense. You treated like an outcast and they really don't want you.
Right. Right. Almost like what San Francisco was doing with Jimmy G. Like they didn't even let him practice.
They gave him money. But they gave him money to stay.
Well, they restructured his deal to get more money back. Either way, yeah. But that's the thing with Deion Jones. It's like between him and Marlon Davidson, I really wonder if we've seen the last, those last, because this regime ain't got no ties to those guys.
No, they don't.
That's not their guys, and they have no ties to him whatsoever. So I really wonder if those guys ever suit back up for the Falcons again.
Yeah.
Especially when you bring, like when your corresponding move was to bring Kwiatkowski back, which we felt like that was an interesting move to let him go to begin with, So yeah, that's another like interesting move there. So do we feel like up to this point, do you think D. Alford has that nickel spot locked down with Isaiah Oliver going back on IR?
Yeah, I believe so. That's why they was giving them as many snaps as they could in the preseason. And he looked pretty good. Yeah. But that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Because you spoke about Logan Ryan and his role in the defense. Now, do you see D. Alford in that Logan Ryan or Isaiah Oliver role?
Well, he's going to have to, right? And early in the offseason, you saw them doing those things with Mike Ford. And then when D. Alford, had his continual rise, he was doing those same kind of things, like playing closer to the line of scrimmage, coming in on blitzes, playing that, hybrid role. Now, my question is, my concern there is like he doesn't necessarily have the same size as Alford. Or not Alford, but Oliver. So I'm interested to see if he's going to be able to do the more linebacking role that Oliver could handle from time to time because of his size and open field tackling prowess. Where Alford is more of a traditional cornerback, nickelback kind of deal. I don't know if it's a deal where Dean Pease is going to alter his scheme a little bit, but I kind of felt like it was shocking that they put Oliver back on IR. Because I think it was like right before the Jaguars game, he was out there practicing without the brace on. Talking about he felt good, he wasn't going to put it back on, and so I don't know if there was some kind of setback that we missed that that they just didn't announce. That one kind of took me back a little bit with Oliver being put on IR.
Well, let me ask you this. Because Dean Pease has always mentioned he's not going to have a guy doing what he's not comfortable doing.
Right.
Do you believe now this makes room for Troy Anderson with his versatility and athleticism to be able to play that role?
And it very well could, because not just Troy Anderson, but also Michael Walker.
Right.
Like you may actually see more traditional 3 linebacker looks this year than we did. They ran a lot of like 4-2-5 looks, but you might see more, 3-4 looks with this, and having guys like Troy Anderson, having guys like Michael Walker, who are able to do more in like coverage areas and
Yeah.
like if you run out, like if you were to run out Rashad Evans, Michael Walker, and Troy Anderson, or Michael Walker and Nick Kwiatkowski, now you can put Walker screaming off the edge, or have Walker drop back into coverage. So
Yeah.
you can do some different things, but yeah, it might end up not forcing, but Dean Pease may have the idea of running more 3 linebacker looks this year than he's traditionally done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's an interesting point that you bring up, really. But they did bring back Dean Marlowe, who
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought Tez Tabor looked a little bit better in preseason than Dean Marlowe.
I did too, but I think because Dean Marlowe played in a similar scheme when he was with Detroit, it'll make the transition a little bit more smoother for him to come in and just learn the terminology and take over a role familiar to what he's used to.
Right.
So that's probably the case.
Now, the ones that are, interesting to me is the fact that we haven't seen much of in this preseason, like of Richie Grant or Jalen Hawkins. So I'm interested to see, like, does Oliver going back on IR? I hope this doesn't then put Richie Grant back in that nickel role, because I really would much rather have Grant as that center fielder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope that they keep Grant more in that safety role in this second year, than trying to put him back in that nickel role, because he did okay there, and I think he could flourish there. But I mean, you drafted him as your free safety, as your center fielder, and so he's one of the guys who I'm really hoping like makes a leap going forward and becomes that that lockdown center, so to speak.
There's definitely some personnel that they kept hitting so that New Orleans could not gauge everything that they want to do with some of the personnel that they have. That's one of them, because you didn't see Richie Grant them play a lot. And I know Jalen was probably dealing with a few little injuries or whatever, and they didn't want to put him out there too much for precautionary reasons to make sure he's ready for week 1. That's just my guess on it, because of some things that happened to him why he couldn't play in preseason week 1. So they definitely hid some things with some of this personnel. So I'm very curious for week 1 to see what Damian Williams really looks like and what his role really is, and as well as CP84 along with Tyler Algier. We still don't really know.
Yeah, that running back room is a little bit more of a mystery than I was hoping for. By this time, it's so funny coming into this offseason, very concerned about the offensive line, and still concerned really, but it seems like Elijah Wilkerson has really solidified that left guard spot, and by solidifying that left guard, it looks like it has made the center play better, and so also you're adding in the mobility of the quarterbacks, obviously help a ton, being able to roll the pocket, design moving the pocket, so that you're not having the same launch point over and over again, also, helps. So it's going to be really interesting, the construction of this 53. Like I said, man, I don't see it being even the 53 that we have on opening day. I'm pulling it up here again on my side screen just to kind of see if there's anything else that kind of stands out Yeah, because like, okay, I'm looking at it here. Like D. Alford is 5'11",
Yeah.
like where Isaiah Oliver was like 6'1" or something of that nature.
6'1", yeah, 6'1", 6'2",
Yeah, he
yeah.
was a bigger. So
A
now,
little over 200 pounds.
right? So now your biggest corner is AJ Terrell at 6'1".
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. But that Matt Dickerson, guy, he's got. I mean, there's definitely a profile of size that they want. They have him listed at D end at
Right.
6'5", 292.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that
I
traditional
saw that.
3-4 DN.
Yeah.
Um, let's see if there's anything else that's like really, really Did you notice that they were bringing in some long snappers for workouts?
I missed that part.
Yeah, it was on like
So
one of
they
those
were
little
bringing in
bird.
more long snappers?
I mean, we got Liam McCollum, and I'm sitting there going, "Do y'all really need to look at a different long snapper? Like, what's y'all's
I guess
fascination with long snappers?"
I guess they want to be prepared for anything that could happen and have some long snappers on hand if something should happen.
Right.
But my thing is, what I do love is that they brought a lot of the guys back that they're ready to go to war with.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they know these guys that they brought back. So I am excited about that, especially since they brought back Derek Tangelo and put him on the practice squad.
Yeah, they got Tangelo on the practice squad.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got, you got Ferkser. Here we go. Okay. So they brought in Josh Alai, which he's a rookie out of Kentucky. Don't know anything about him. They put Batson on the practice squad.
I like that.
Jordan Balford, the outside linebacker, or Baylor Ford. The Dancing King got back up on practice squad. Frank Darby.
Speaking of the Dancing Queen.
Yeah.
King, I'm sorry. You're not the queen. I'm sorry, y'all. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. They made sure that we was gonna know that Frank Darby was one of the first guys they cut about 8:40 in the morning on Tuesday.
First name.
It was the first name.
Now this is interesting. On the website, now hold on here. Like, I ain't trying to drag this video out too much. I'm just now noticing this. On the website, Chuma Idago is on the practice squad.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you that.
When
I thought
did I miss that one?
On the practice squad. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that today. They got him on the practice squad, and they got Matt Dickerson on the 53.
Yeah.
And roster.
I thought when you claimed somebody, you had to initially put them on the 53.
Man, I'm still learning all these things. So
maybe that's during the year. Maybe that's like I don't know. But anyway, so he's on the boy. You got Ian Rappaport talking about he's gonna come in and compete. And Arthur Smith's like, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put him on the practice squad. Come in and compete.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rich right there. That's rich.
Yeah, man.
But okay, so you got Anthony Ferkser, Tucker Fisk, and then Michael Pruitt are all on the practice squad. Derek Tangelo, Tyler Vrabel, Tez Tabor.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the practice squad, other than Josh Alai and then Chuma Idogbo or whatever his name is, those are only like two surprises. They're pretty much figured out that who they had in camp is who they're going to war with.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's fine. You know who you got, and we can just keep working, keep practicing, and you got what you got, and in your reserves on your on your practice squad as what you need. So yeah, I'm game.
Yeah, me too.
Was there anything else you needed to add, my man?
Well, I think that's it, boy.
I think so.
Let's get ready for Sunday. I'm excited, man.
Now, like I said, we're going to try to have a big show on Tuesday with a lot of guests. I don't know how that's going to go, so don't hold me to it. You may turn it on Tuesday and it'll just be me and Toby. I don't know. But we'll be back on Tuesday, like really talking up the Saints, really talking up, what we expect to go down and things like that. And, yeah. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Toby?
I'm at TobyD1991.
There you go. Merch links are in the bio. Patreon's in the bio if you want it. If not, no big deal. But as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.